don't know what it was, but basically he surprised them the day he was getting ready to leave. He called them into his room, told them to look out, and if I'm not mistaken, it was like the 15th floor, told them to look out, and there we had cars parked for the nurses that he had arranged for, just gave them cars.
He just kind of said, you know, you people need a new car. I'd like you to have a Cadillac. And my mom said, oh, Elvis, we don't, you know, they protested, of course. But it was, you know, certainly something that my parents had never had. And so they were taken aback, and it was a huge deal in their lives. But, you know, just the generosity of spirit, I think, was appreciated more than the actual gift of the car.
And this is her parents. And here's Lynn Thompson with Elvis Presley. I have the original title when it was registered to Lynn Thompson's parents, and when Elvis Presley owned the car, and when it was registered in his aunt's name. These are just letters. One letter is from Lynn Thompson's parents stating that the car did belong to Elvis Presley, and also a certificate from the Department of Motor Vehicle stating that the car also belonged to Elvis Presley. And this is just a picture of when this car was auctioned off in Europe. This is Elvis Presley's 1971 Cadillac that I won in a raffle. I found out about the raffle in the Elvis Only newsletter, and I won the car. And I like to do charity work. And it makes me feel really good inside that I'm able to do something for a child, or when I was doing it for the National Missing Children Center. And with the car, I also did a fundraiser for the Special Olympics, and I really enjoyed that. It makes me feel good.
It's wonderful to know that just because a car was given by Elvis Presley, that now it can generate income for charities. Elvis was very much like Santa Claus because he really derived more pleasure from giving than from receiving.
The first one was a 63 in 1965. Before that, he gave me the motorcycle. He gave me that 67 Cadillac that he had, the Eldorado, the first year they came out with front-wheel drive. And then in December of 70, he was my best man. When we got married, he gave us a Mercedes 280 SE for a wedding present. He gave me a 1973 Eldorado black on black Cabriolet.
I mean, I was a recipient of at least 8 over the years.
75, he gave the Lincoln to me.
A Mercedes, 3 Cadillacs.
And 76, in January, up in Vail, he gave my wife a 1976 Seville. White, baby blue interior, baby blue top.
Trans Am.
She was just blown away by it, you know. That was her car, not mine, her car.
First Trans Am with a big engine, had the big Firebird on it. It was white with this big, beautiful blue Firebird. And I'd had it like a day, and I go out in front of the house in Beverly Hills, and Lisa is about 6 years old, and she's peeling off the bird on my Trans Am. That's the first time I ever got mad at her.
When we were in Vail, we befriended Captain Kennedy and Ron Petrofesso and a few people who worked for the Denver Police Department.
They were just very super nice guys. We met them on the security deal when we played Denver, when we did the show there. So we got to be good friends with them. And whenever we were up there, like in Vail or something, they were around.
I was the commander of a number of bureaus throughout my career. I was also off-duty work coordinator for the city facilities, so I had all the police at the concerts, the ball games, and everything else. So I brought my little entourage of policemen, half a dozen of us, to provide security on the floor to guard, you know, Elvis's quarters there.
We were at the Radisson Hotel in Denver, which was the home of the Playboy Club at that time. And we had either the 10th or 11th floor, and it was completely sealed off.
Of course, Elvis came strolling out and shooting the breeze. I mean, he loved to tell jokes. He loved to hear jokes. He loved policemen. He liked camaraderie. and as well as he liked the girls, you know. So we had a good time. We became friends. He came back for personal rides in the police car. You know, the years went by. We went out to Las Vegas to his shows, took the wives out there to Lake Tahoe. You know, it was fun. I mean, I was talking on the phone with my wife, and Elvis got on the phone and said hello to Joan, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to buy you a car like mine. I'm going to buy you a Lincoln." I says, "Oh, no, you're not." He said, "Yeah, I am." He says, "I appreciate everything that you've done and all your guys have done to make this visit such a pleasant thing." He says, "I appreciate it." And he says, "I'm going to buy you a Lincoln."
And it wasn't maybe an hour or so later, he called me up to his room in the house that he was renting in Vail, and we were sitting there talking, and he popped this question to me. He said, "You know, if you could buy any car in the world, what would you buy?" And I said, "You know, I don't know. I'd probably buy a Cadillac." You know, and to me in 1976, that was probably the best car that was on the road. And I mean, I said, "I'd probably buy a Cadillac." He said, "Really?" He said, "Any particular kind?" And I said, "Probably an Eldorado."
He picked that one, and he bought that one for him, and then we took a spin around the block in the Lincoln, and then we headed out for Jack Kent Cadillac for these other Cadillacs for Ron and Bob Cantwell and Joe Esposito's girlfriend and Red West's girlfriend and Colonel Parker.
He ended up buying, I believe that night, 6 or 7 Cadillacs. He bought Linda Thompson a new car that night. You know, and why he would buy one in Denver, Colorado, it's just, it was the thrill and the excitement of everybody being there. I mean, he could have bought it in California, he could have bought it in Memphis, but he wanted to buy it that night. I mean, he went crazy with buying cars that night. And obviously the Cadillac dealership loved it. There was something that, you know, things just like that you hear about, you read about, and it doesn't happen to you. I mean, you know, for a working policeman that, you know, I mean, it was overwhelming, to say the least. I mean, you know, somebody's going to buy you a Cadillac that probably at that point in my life was half my salary for the year.
I mean, it was about, I don't know, 150 grand or whatever it was. It was big time money. You know, after he bought all those cars, I mean, he told me, he says, "You know, Captain," he says, "when my dad gets all those canceled checks, he's going to shit his pants."
This car came into my world in the strangest of circumstances. We were doing a morning broadcast on a Denver television station, followed the Today Show on NBC.
And we were sitting there in Vail watching the TV in the morning, and they were obviously doing a newscast about all these cars that had been purchased the day before.
And my co-anchor at the end of the broadcast, in a little goodbye that we would do each day, she said, "I'm going to go up to Aspen this weekend, and I hope that Elvis bumps into me." Now, there was an implication to that. First, Elvis was over in Vail, Colorado, not to matter. But the innuendo of what she said was just shattering. And I turned and looked at her, and I said, "What an inappropriate thing to say."
Elvis started laughing. He said, "Ron, do you know that guy?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You know, I know who he is." He said, "Call him on the phone."
Picked up the phone, and the guy says, "What kind of car do you want?" And I said, "Pardon me, who is this?" And he said, "This is Elvis." And of course, immediately I thought it was a practical joke, particularly from some friends at other television station in town.
Elvis handed me the phone. He said, "This guy doesn't believe it's me." So I got him back on the phone. I said, "Hey, Don, trust me, this is the real guy."
And he says, "Don, this is Petrofesso. He wants to give you a car, damn it."
He goes, "You got to be kidding me." I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "He was watching this morning, just happened to be watching the TV when you came on, and I said, he had us make the phone call for you."
And then a little bit later, another voice appeared in another call, and he said he was something at a Cadillac dealership, and which car did I want? And I said, well, what kind of car are we talking about? And he says, Cadillac. He says, the rule is you have to take one off the showroom floor. We have 7 of them available. We have a blue one with a dark blue top, and we have a white one, and we have a pink one. What do you want? I said, I'll take the blue one. Hung up. That afternoon, I went out, and this car was waiting for me, and I drove away. And I have to confess, my life was changed. It rolled on from there. There were some very difficult days. Actually, the next year was rather difficult with regard to the car. 1, a journalist should not accept a gift. 2, I was totally eclipsed as a newsman by the fellow who got the Cadillac from Elvis. And it became an emotional burden.
Just to show you how much people would attract to anything Elvis touched or was around. I mean, here was a car that belonged to me. He paid for it, but it was my car. It wasn't his car, it was mine. People want me to sign their baby's leg, their wife's back with marking pens. You know, I was asking these people, why do you want this? And their answer was, this is the closest that we could ever get to anybody that was that close to Elvis.
It was an exciting time, and you know, I think I had a pretty exciting career as a policeman. I made, you know, thousands of arrests and drug busts myself, but nobody remembers me for that. Oh, you're the guy that Elvis gave a car to, and so that's been the story of my life since 1976, and it still, you know, goes to this day.
Running with the king at the height of his reign, like flying in the eye of a hurricane. Running with the king at the height of his reign, it's like trying to hold on to a runaway train.
Elvis had 2 pairs of glasses that he gave my husband. And one time when my husband was leaving his house, Elvis said, Ed, you forgot your glasses. And my husband said, those aren't my glasses, they're yours. He said, they have your initials.
Like my TCB, that's there forever. Taking care of business, lightning fast. It was the first one, because I happened to be with him when we picked him up down there at the jewelry store in Beverly Hills. And he put it on my neck there in the shop, in their store. And he put one on himself. He had something like a dozen, I think it was, that were made up. He was really thinking about just us guys that were with him at the time and our wives. And then he would give them away to celebrities. They would remark about it. And he tried to take mine one time, and I wouldn't let him have it. He wanted to give it to some celebrity. I don't know who it was. And I said, no. And he said, what do you mean, no? I'll get you another one. And I said, no, you can't get me another one, Elvis. This is very special to me. It's the first one and that you gave out, and I want to keep it. I'm going to keep it. He said, they're all alike. I said, no, they're not. And I said, now, if you want me to not wear this so that you don't ask me for it, I won't wear it, Elvis. He said, no, go ahead and wear it. And later on, I went to him. I said, Elvis, I hope you're not angry about that, Matt. And he said, no, hell no. He said, I know what you mean. And he said, I appreciate that. I know. And that was it. He never asked me for it again.
The first gift Elvis ever gave me was a beautiful diamond cross. And it's in an old-fashioned looking mounting. It's very beautiful, and I wear it occasionally. The second gift he ever gave me was the car. And then the third gift he gave me was my TLC chain. And of course I wear this all the time. And it has both of our names on the back of it and the day he gave it to me. And then for Christmas that year, he gave me a 21-carat aquamarine ring. He gave me a mink coat, and it's silver gray, and he said, this is to match your hair.
He was always giving gifts, always. And so he brought the mink coat to my house, and I was very